everyone. My name is Brenna. I'll be telling a story today that will sound familiar to anyone who has tried to compare their jobs with someone else. This story has many versions, but this particular one has origins in the city of Tallinn in Estonia. This story is titled The Nagging Husband. A nagging husband was always telling his wife how easy her life was. I toil in the fields all day, and you just lounge about the house, all snug and warm, he'd say. His wife would sigh and ignore these taunts until one day she snapped. Fine, she said. If my life is so easy, let's change places for a day. I'll go to the fields and you can mind the house. The husband smiled. Deal! Tomorrow I'll do the housework and you'll go mow the grass. The next morning, the wife explained what he had to do. Have porridge ready for my lunch, churn the butter for the rolls, and let the cow out to graze. And she left. He decided to cook the porridge first. He filled a pot with water and poured in the oats. Then he set to lighting the stove. It took him several tries to get a fire burning beneath the pot. Finally, it began to bubble. Then the cow outside had started to moo, and he realized it had slipped his mind with all the fuss. Figured that the porridge would burn in the amount of time it took him to take the cow out to pasture. I'll just add more water to the pot. That'll give me extra time. So he went to the well for water and came back with a pail full. He tipped so much water into the pot that it put out the fire. He had to start all over again. The cow was mooing harder than ever. I knew that the porridge would boil over and douse the fire if he left it for too long. I know. I'll tether the cow to a post and she can eat the grass there. So he took the cow out of the barn and hitched a rope from her leg to a doorpost, then went back to the kitchen. On his way back, though, he remembered that he had to churn the butter. So again, he ran into the barn to fetch the churn and the cream and took it back to the kitchen. He started to churn. It was hard and thirsty work, so he left for a moment to get some cider from the barn. But he forgot to close the kitchen door. Some pigs were rooting through the yard, and seeing the kitchen door open, began to poke their snouts inside. The husband saw the intruders and ran back to the house, forgetting to turn off the cider tap. But he was too late. Pigs were in the cream, they'd knocked the churn over, it was all over the floor, they were gobbling it up. The husband drove the pigs out, huffing and puffing. But he remembered the cider tap. He ran back to the barn, only to see it awash with cider and the barrel empty. Let's make more butter. So he looked for more cream to make the butter. He found another jug full and set to churning the butter again in the kitchen. It then occurred to him that the cider barrel would crack if it dried out. So he went back to the well. As he ran out of the kitchen, holding the churn, he did not see the rope that tied the cow. He tripped over it and fell face first into a cow pat. The churn flew from his grasp and landed on the poor cow's leg. Crack! The cow slumped to the ground, her leg broken. He wiped his face and went to the well, and he put the churn onto the well ledge as he lowered the pail. But as he hauled it back up, he knocked the churn into the well with a splash. So much for butter. He turned back to the cider barrel to fill it with water. As he filled it, though, his nose twitched. It smelled like something was burning. The porridge! He'd completely forgotten. He ran back to the kitchen and tasted it. It might just be edible if he added some butter. So he went back to the barn to see if there was any butter in a bin somewhere. He searched in every bin, but no luck. He leaned over to get a better look into the last bin and fell in head first. He struggled to get out, kicking his legs in the air. When his wife returned from the fields, no one was home. But what a sight greeted her! The kitchen floor was covered in cream. The cow lay beside the barn with a broken leg. Cider ran out the barn door. The porridge was completely black. The churn had disappeared, and her husband was nowhere to be seen. She finally saw him when she looked into the barn and saw his legs flailing wildly. She pulled him out, and silently she tidied up. She cooked more porridge. She left some for him and went back to the fields. From that day on, the husband never nagged his wife again. Well, he certainly learned his lesson. I'm sure he never boasted about his work being so much more difficult ever again. I hope you enjoyed this story. Thank you for watching.